Well, good afternoon, Broncos fans. Welcome to the Denver Bronco Roundup. I know our fans are out there. I know they're not happy, man. I was going to come on here, man. Heartbreaker, man. Absolute heartbreaker down in Houston. We're going to get at you, talk about everything that is this Denver Broncos loss, the end of the streak. My name is Keith Brugman, of course, host of the Rocky Mountain Sports, or host of the Denver Bronco Roundup. My co-host in here this evening as I'm stumbling in, Albert Mile High Dutchy. Albert, how you doing today?
I'm doing very good. A little sad about the loss, but here we go. It was a nail biter again, and it could have gone both ways, but Houston, I think, was the better team today.
Oh, just calling it straight out, man. Not mincing words, but a fantastic game. Like you said, a nail biter. Went down to the end. You know, couldn't really ask for much more. That's really what you wanted. Kind of like what we want out of Mr. Trevor Salzman. Mr. Trevor Salzman joining in as a co-host. Trevor, how you doing, buddy?
Not too bad, Keith. Just starting to feel better from Friday a little bit, but not feeling too good about this loss. Obviously, with a close game, a lot of things just not going the Broncos' direction today, and it's unfortunate because again, this is such a big win, and that was needed for the Broncos, I think. But you live another week, and you just got to clean it up. This is give props to Houston. That is, like Albert said, that is the better team right now, and they certainly proved it today.
Wow, you guys are both just jumping in here, calling it straight out. Houston's a better team, man. We saw this Houston team, leading into this game, like me and Trevor talked about in the pregame show on Friday. They're a no-joke type of team, guys. They're a team that you absolutely have to line up and expect for. D'Amico Ryans has got this team playing fantastic. C.J. Stroud, even though he would look like he was hobbling out there and even times checking in on the blue tent, continued to go out there and make plays and make it happen and put enough points on the board in order to get this win, a close win in Houston. Albert, what was your impressions of our defense versus this Houston Texans offense, and really just kind of what went wrong today?
What went wrong? The coverage was not great. That's what it was. Small mistakes in the backfield, and that's caused the big plays.
Yeah, you could point to a number of different things. I think, Albert, you nailed a couple of them. I'm going to jump on over to Trevor. You feel free to elaborate, buddy. What do you think what was wrong in the game plan against this Houston Texans offense? Why they were able to put up 22 points and maybe even left a few more points out there, so there are some drop passes on their end as well.
Yeah, I think it was just a mixture of different things, like you said, Keith. I think a couple silly penalties. I think that Alex Singleton 4th and 2 penalty was just absolutely silly. Again, in any other game, I don't know if that's called, but that's just something. Just don't even engage with that because you don't need that at this point. But I just think C.J. Stroud just is great. He's just so mobile. I mean, he just finds a way. It's so hard to bring him down, and he just finds ways to scramble and finds ways to make plays. And I just don't think that this Broncos defense, it's hard to get prepared for that right now because, I mean, you did that against Mahomes, but just didn't work today against the Texans offense. And C.J. Stroud, he just slipped out of so many different sacks. And, yeah, I mean, I know Denver got to him a couple times, but, I mean, look, there's so many other times I thought they were going to get to him. They did, and he just slipped out of him. He's just so hard to bring down. And he got whatever he wanted today, just like in the passing game. 274 passing yards today, 16 for 27, 1 touchdown. Collins was his big receiver throughout 191 yards, 9 receptions, 1 touchdown. I mean,
yeah,
the passing game was working for them today. Let's just say that.
It was working to Nico Collins, that's for dang
Yeah.
sure. And also working overtime because he's always on our podcast. He has his own podcast. Kenny Kirkpatrick coming in here and saying, "Tough loss, Broncos fans. Texans surprised the heck out of me. Keep your head high for those other fans. Keep your heads high. And for those other fans, stop blaming Russell Wilson, for goodness sakes." Also jumping in here and saying, "No one expects 10 wins in a row. So now come back next week and take care of business." And finally, coming in here, I got to get all the way through. Coming in and says, "I agree, Trevor, but defensive players should know just to walk away." Yeah, it was. I'm not going to call the refs out and say that we lost because of the refs, but man, there were some rough calls out there today, left, right, and otherwise. Houston Texans probably feel like there should have been a few more flags, thrown towards the Broncos' way. Certainly could have made a case for a push-off on that Cortland Sutton touchdown, but once again, fantastic throw. Cortland Sutton coming down with that grab. It was, reminiscent of just a couple of weeks ago in the back of the end zone as he was coming in and coming in clutch for us. But that being said, like I said, the refs were like all over the board. Didn't agree with the Singleton call. That was I was absolutely shocked on that one. Like I said, the first thing I saw was C.J. Stroud jump up and pop right in. Go helmet first right into Singleton, and Singleton gets the penalty. That was a huge one right there. Guys, I'll go to you, Trevor. Do you think the penalties played a role in this game and the outcome, or what were your thoughts on that? We'll continue to go off of Kenny's comment there.
Yeah, I don't think penalties was too much of a problem today. Yeah, that Singleton one pop sucks. That was just a silly call. But the Houston Texans had 8 penalties today. The Broncos had 2. Houston Texans had 8 penalties for 81 yards, and the Broncos had 2 for 8. So It's just I don't blame the penalties on this for this game. I think that it was definitely just Houston just outmatched them in this one. I think a lot of it is that Stroud just his passing. He was just the passing game for Houston was just working all day, and the Broncos tried to keep up, and their offense just did not get out to a great start of the game, and they had to kind of make up for it, and just they weren't able to do it.
I'm going to jump over to Dutchy on this one, Albert. I'm going to want to talk about this defensive line. This defensive line continues to struggle to try to get pressure. It seemed like when we did get pressure, it was like guys from Singleton coming on a blitz and trying to disrupt, and get into that backfield. But this 4-man pressure, still having trouble getting into the backfield. What is the issue? What's the cure? Why couldn't they get it done against Houston? What's your thoughts on this defensive line?
I think they were focused on protecting the rush pass. They were pretty stout this time against the rush, and I think that's where their focus was. Not getting to the quarterback. I think that will come. If you are more confident in your rush defense, then the pass rush will come. Because right now, I think how many rushing yards did the Texans get? Not that many. And I think that was much better compared to previous games.
I agree, man. It certainly seemed to bottle it up. Whether it be Pierce, whether it be Singleton, neither of one of them seemed like they end up getting off. I know, Trevor, you're kind of our stat guy, so you probably got it lined up right in front of you. Was it the right call, though, to play a little bit, if that was the case, like Albert is saying, to play off on the pass rush and let C.J. Stroud operate and more key in on the run defense, I guess you could say, along that front four? And maybe if you do, I imagine you do, have those numbers right up in front of us. Let us know exactly how we ended up.
Yeah, so we ended up having 5 sacks today total. So, I think I'm taking that most days. But, again, I think there's been a lot more. I think Denver needed to adjust to the rush just because, again, we talked about it pregame show, that I think Houston was going to try to run the ball against Denver's defense. Denver's defense is no secret. They've had trouble stopping the run. But I don't think that Denver adjusted to C.J. Stroud. I just think this game is just C.J. Stroud. He's just so dang good. That's just what it is. He's just outperformed Broncos today. It was him. I'm not going to try to say it's just one guy or so because it's a whole team, but he was really the one guy that was a big difference maker in this game. He just finds ways to make plays, and he just did enough in this game to outperform the Broncos. And I just think that then Denver played it the right way. I just think that it's so hard to bring a guy like C.J. Stroud down because he sees the field so well. It's so hard to just kind of game plan against him. But I think I'll take most days you'll take 5 sacks. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, most days you'll take 5 sacks. They really turned it on in the second half. Didn't have a sack in the first half. Turned on the second half. Really ended up getting some pressure on him. Again, like I said, Singletary was definitely dialed up within that blitz package. You saw him coming left, right, and otherwise. And I think that additional pressure helped get pressure onto CJ Stroud. I think that secondary did tighten up for the most part in that second half, especially when you look at the amount of points that were put up. Wasn't that many. And man, I mean, this offensive line of the Houston Texans, I got to admit, man, I watched them prior to this game, kind of leading up to this game, trying to do a little game tape for everybody, and they did fantastic against Jacksonville, and Jacksonville is an elite type of defense. I knew that we would have it out for us. I said in our pregame show we would have to be almost in a shootout. I thought we'd have to put up quite a few points. I predicted quite a few points for a Broncos win. That being said, switching gears to the other side of the ball, I'll go over to Albert. Albert, this offense just didn't seem to get off at all. It didn't seem to start clicking. You know what I mean? It just struggled almost in all phases. Talk about the offense and, the struggles that they had, the game plan that we went in and where you think the fault really falls when it comes to, coming up short and only putting up 17 points on the board. You with me, Albert?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, that was all directed to you, buddy. I'm sorry.
My internet is having a little bit of a delay, so that's why.
Okay, I appreciate you, buddy.
So I didn't get part of the sentence you got.
But okay, the main gist, if you got me right now, is basically the offense. It didn't get clicking, and the game plan against Houston, only being able to put up 17 points. Where are you putting some of the blame?
I think I don't call it all the way on the offense. The defense of the Texans was tremendous, and I think that's where the biggest thing is. They adjusted. They had a plan for the Broncos, and it worked for the Texans really well. Yeah, I don't think it was the offense at all. The Houston Texans defense was terribly good.
Man, well, I mean, living up to the words that you came in with and started talking with right off the bat, you said that this Houston Texans team was just a better team today. Well, sticking to that, the Houston Texans defense was just a little bit better than what the offense was able to put out there today, and thus the Houston Texans win on that side of the ball. Trevor, what is your analysis of our game plan going against, again, the performance of these offensive players, and do you have any blame to pass around for only being able to put up 17 points?
Yeah, I think there's plenty of blame to go around. I think there's
on the other side of the coin. Sorry, go ahead. But
yeah, because Russell Wilson. I mean, here's the thing. I know we've talked. Like, I will praise Russ when he needs to be praised, but I will also, when Russ needs to be checked, I want to check it. 3 interceptions in this game. I know. Here's the thing, and I know this. The offensive line was not good today at all. We're not good. McGlinchey and Bulls in particular were not good. Greenyard and Will Anderson Jr. had one heck of a day, and the sacks is one is something is a good stat to kind of keep track of. But pressures, I'm curious to see the pressures that they got on Russell Wilson today, because that is what's going to tell in this game. The sacks don't tell, because Houston got like 3 today. They were in Russell's face a lot more, than that. So, I think that if the offensive line, I think it starts up front. You have the Broncos that definitely, like this whole winning streak, you could go back and say we won up front. And in this game, I think we got beat up front, and then that's where it starts, and then it trickles on down to Russell Wilson, where he turns the ball over 3 times. I'm sorry, in whatever game it is, likely you're not winning that game if your quarterback turns the ball over 3 times. 100%. So I don't. You didn't have anything today as far as you're passing the ball, running the ball, not really either. I mean, you were better than Houston today, but that doesn't mean that you ran the ball good today. I think just the offense was not clicking today. Houston definitely had answers for Denver's offense, and it just goes back to score one again. You gotta win it up front. You gotta win your matches up front. And they didn't. Denver rushed for 118 yards today. I mean, you're not gonna. I mean, you gotta have more than that in this game to open up your passing game. And I don't think that Denver had that today at all.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to get to a couple of comments. The first one I got to fire right off because it's Kenny and it's topical right now. And he's saying, rare occasion I disagree with Trevor. That last interception wasn't on him. He's trying to make a play. And the other one was a tip, so it did mess with the trajectory of the ball. David Gordon coming in on, or Grandin, I'm sorry, David Grandin coming in on Facebook. I think that's a new name for us. David is coming in saying, terrible call on that final drive. I think I could agree with you, but I think I could agree with you with maybe 1, 2, or 3, maybe even 4 plays on that final drive. So jump on in here and let me know exactly what you're thinking as far as which one was the terrible call on that final drive. Jumping back in here too, Kenny was saying, I like this. He says, I said it in our chat. I have Sutton ranked as number 3 wide receiver in the league behind Hill and A.J. Brown. Texans tried to take him out, and he's still made the biggest play in the loss. I want to start off with that. Unfortunately, Cortland Sutton didn't start off on fire. Cortland Sutton started off with a couple of drops to start off and then started catching fire and started coming up big. I think that also helped, or didn't help, Russell Wilson. I think it took him off his game a little bit and maybe what he wanted to do or is where his confidence was. But that being said, I'm going to go right back to what Trevor said as well. I've been praising Russell Wilson and what he's been doing and the way he's been checking plays and the way that he's been getting guys into position and getting the right call, the right play for each individual down that they're lining up against. And he's been doing a fantastic job at that. And I don't think he had a good day as that's concerned. I think that's a lot of why, and don't blame it on Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey was crashing down because that's the way that the blocking scheme was set up to go. Well, if you're going to leave Will Anderson unblocked multiple times, that should have been a check at the line of scrimmage, and that should have been either a different play or a different blocking scheme in order to make sure that Will Anderson was taken care of. I don't think Russell Wilson had his best day today. Came up short on a couple of passes at times, where guys were out in front of coverage, and if he could have got it out there, could have been a touchdown. There was opportunities. It was not his best day. But that being said, one of the things that we put in our pregame, and just to kind of allude to this, maybe some people can get in the comments right now on this. I was trying to think about MVPs. And MVPs, when it came to the offensive side of the ball, I was struggling with. I'm going to have to come up with maybe at least one offensive, one defensive MVP, even in the loss, guys. But I might cheat. I might have your guys' comments lead me to my offensive MVP because I was coming up a little short when I was coming out of that last-minute loss, about ready to come on air. So, boy, let's talk about this, guys, man. This was a big game. We all know 6-5 versus 6-5. Now it's 7-5 versus 6-6. Or so the Houston Texans move on. They're way into the playoff hunt right now. I know that we were kind of watching games heading into this. I need to get some updates on those because I know there were some big ones coming down the stretch that would be meaningful for us that look like we're going in our favor. Because we were taking this loss in the end. But, Albert, I'm going to go to you first, man. Moving past this loss, we're going to be heading to San Diego next. Need to get our mind, set right. Do the Denver Broncos have it in them to put this loss behind them and still go on a playoff run? Are we still in the hunt, even without thinking about the standings in the other games?
Absolutely. They were 1-5, and where are we now? 6-6. So yes, absolutely can put it aside and turn around and win next game. Yeah, we knew it was going to be a tough on the stretch, and we knew we would lose 1 or 2 games, maybe even 3. But we knew it would happen. So yeah, I think they will turn it around next week and do better. Yeah, and about the 3 interceptions, the second one, if Cortland Sutton would have just called a pass interference, you still had the ball. You had a 10-yard penalty, but you still would have the ball.
Mm.
And so, yeah, Cortland Sutton could have done something about that as well.
Ah.
And yeah, in the first one, yeah, it was a tip ball. Any other time, you would say this is a tip ball, and now it all of a sudden is on Russell Wilson because he got hurried from out of the pocket. Yeah, those three interceptions. Maybe the second one, you can blame on Russell, but the other two, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm pretty much almost giving them all to Russell Wilson. I understand trying to squeeze it in, tight coverage, going over the top. Looked like he almost had Cortland Sutton, but you also have one of the best cornerbacks in the league that tracked that ball down, had eyes on it the entire time, and came up big on the interception. The tip ball, I know it's a tip ball, but quite honestly, I think it was going to be behind Judy regardless. Just looking at the trajectory and the way that they replayed that about 100 times, that one is the one I might not give him. The last one, you have time.
Yeah.
Throw it out of the back of the end zone. Give yourself one more opportunity. Do something. It just, man, heartbreaking to come up that way at the very, very, very end, man. So I just, like I said, I don't think he was on his game today. I don't think all those interceptions maybe aren't to blame on him. Like I said, maybe that second one, maybe that tip pass, but otherwise it was really rough. So going over to Trevor, same question, buddy. By the way, I don't get the agreement on this one. Trevor may not get the agreement on this one. Dutchie gets the agreement from Kenny on here. And maybe I'll just segue real quick before I get your thoughts about moving forward, Trevor. Kenny Kirkpatrick, part of the fantastic K&K Sports Show. I got to show him some love. He's been a guest host on our show as well. The K&K Sports Show is an East Coast podcast company that has a little bit for anybody. So I don't care if you're NBA, NHL, NFL, MLB, they'll be covering it all. They have that East Coast flair, that East Coast style. They cover it from coast to coast. Also have the other half of K&K Sports Show, Kurt Valente, that has a Wednesday 8 p.m. Broncos podcast, guys. You got to check that out. So Kenny Kirkpatrick, big love to you. We call him our cousins on the East Coast. No relation, but nonetheless, love you, Kenny. Thank you so much. So, Trevor, getting back again to this, taking this loss. It's a heartbreaker, like I said at the top of the show, man. It's not what we wanted. It's not what we wanted to continue this run, right? We've been on a fantastic run. We had it within our grasp. It was right there, and just came up short in Houston, man. How do you take a loss like this, and let it help you hopefully propel you to a win the next week, man?
Yeah, I think I think it starts like getting with up front, but also things starts with turning the ball over. Kind of going back to this game, how much is that Marvin Mims, that pass right there to Marvin Mims, if Russ throws out in front of Mims, that's a touchdown. That was supposed to be, and I agree it should have been a PI, but if Russ throws that ball in front of Mims, that's an easy touchdown. I just want to throw that out there. I know that. No, I'm not trying to throw blame on Russ all day today, but I'm just saying, like, Russ was not on his game today at all. And so, I mean, like, and those interceptions were on Russ. That starts with the quarterback, and he's got to be better in those situations. But moving forward with the Chargers, here's the great thing about football. You live another week. The Chargers have been a dysfunctional organization right now. They're 5-7, talking about, their head coach might be gone at the end of the season. So this is a team that put 6 points up against the Patriots in the last game. So, wow. I mean, there you go. There's there's a silver lining to this. You have a very beatable LA Chargers team that you can go in there. You can go into their house and beat them. I mean, you've done it against Buffalo. Why couldn't you do it against the Chargers? They're not playing very good right now. So what says that you can't? You just faced a great Houston Texans team that has lost a couple close games, but have also they're a year probably or two too early in their competitive window. But that's team, take your cap to them. They won this game.
Yeah.
Now it's time to move forward, clean up the mistakes, the turnovers. Starts up front. You got to be better up front, and just, get back to where you were when you played the Browns, when you played Buffalo, when you played Kansas City. Get back to the game plan. And then I think the Broncos got a little bit too away from that in this game against the Houston Texans.
Mm. Yeah, maybe. It's debatable what's not debatable. Again, Kenny coming in here saying much love. Thanks, Keith. Much love and respect always to all of you. Also have Pearl coming in here, our good friend Pearl, big supporter of the show. Thank you so much, Pearl, for finding us this afternoon, coming in here and saying hello. So thank you. Matthew's coming in here over on Facebook saying we got cheated. We got cheated. Again, we talked about it a little bit earlier, Matthew. There was definitely some calls that I wish would have went our way. Seems like the flags could have flown a little bit better in our direction, and man, just rough. Just a rough way to lose. When at least there's a little taste of the refs being involved, especially as you look back and go back. It'll be a interesting one once again to go back and rewatch and watch the tape on and get that feeling of not watching it live. David's coming in and saying the Texans had our number today. David Grandin, I agree, and Trevor and Albert agree as well. I'm gonna ask you this then, man. How did the game plan just come up short? Was it the travel? Was it the early start? Was it going on the road when we've at home? Was it just the Houston Texans? But I mean, the Houston Texans, we're not talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. We're not talking about the San Francisco 49ers. I thought we would be able to be in this game just a little bit better. How come our game plan didn't translate? I'm going to go to Albert first.
I believe that the conditions of the field might have something to do with it as well. How many injuries were there on the lower legs, on the legs?
Oh,
hamstrings, knees. Out of the blue, one of our players dropped down on the field because of an injury without contact. He just stumbled on the field, and maybe that has something to do with it as well. I don't know, but
that is part of traveling, because we went on that natural field, and all of a sudden we go onto that artificial turf. It is something to be talked about. Not to stop you. Continue by all means.
But I think that is part of the situation too. You have an unknown field. You might have played over a year ago, but to you it is an unknown field if you have not been there in the last 4 or 5 weeks. So I think that is part of it as well. I'm not going to call it an excuse, but you saw it. Pat Surtain tripped over his own legs. That might have something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah. And Patrick Surtain coming out with a little bit of injury himself within this game, was able to go back in, but we were all a little bit grasping and gasping as Pat Surtain was off the field for a few plays. I go back to you, Trevor, on this one. We're getting a few more viewers and a few more new faces in here, so that's another reason I'm just kind of wrapping around on this. Why didn't we have a game plan, that was able to translate better, down in Houston? Again, I know it's an away game. I know it's an early start. I know it's a travel. It's not entirely on the East Coast, but you know what I mean? It's a little bit of a travel as well. As Albert brought up, all of a sudden your field conditions change. I know that our good friend Sis that jumps in here from time to time, and Joey Clams, also part of the K&K Sports Show, talk about, traveling and field conditions changing from what you're used to. So Albert brings up a good point. How come our game plan just didn't come in there and start executing, especially in that first half where we just seemed to struggle?
Yeah, I think I think the field and all that stuff and the travel definitely is a part of it. I don't know how big of a part of it, because every team's got to deal with it around the NFL. But I would say also early game. I mean, this is a 11 a.m. game for my time, obviously. But I think that the Broncos are not early; they're not used to playing this early too. But I just think just overall wise, I just think that Houston they're just really good. I mean, I think they're just starting to hit kind of their stride right now, and they're a little early, a year or two early. But I think that Miko Ryans and Stroud they've done a great job. I think just pairing those guys together and getting the most out of those guys. So I think that it's been that. But I think Houston's kind of a different team than you've played in the past. Other teams have kind of been run heavy. This is a pass heavy team. Stroud's like a quarterback we haven't seen in a long time. I mean, since Mahomes, but Mahomes was, wasn't Mahomes in that game. So, Stroud, you could argue one of the better quarterbacks we've seen this year, just this season alone. Probably one of the better quarterbacks that we've seen this year. So I think it's a lot of different things in effect, not just one thing or two in particular.
Yeah, and I came in here and I praised C.J. Stroud and talked about his ability. If you don't just go off of names alone and you look at the guys that we played, yeah, obviously Tua had a game against us. I'd say his receivers had more of a game than he had, but that I digress. You talk about, oh boy, I mean, it starts getting tough. Patrick Mahomes hasn't had his, a fantastic season. You talk about Josh Allen, but Josh Allen hasn't had a fantastic season, as of yet. So, yeah, when you talk about quarterbacks that we've matched up against and the ones that are playing fantastic this year, it's tough not to put C.J. Stroud near the top of that list of, quarterbacks that we have matched up against and will match up against throughout this season. So, I did want to give a shout out. Say Pearl Heater was coming in, also in agreement with what you guys were saying. No, they were a good team. Speaking about the Houston Texans, next week is another week. Broncos were just outplayed this week. So, in saying once again, I agree 100%. Roger's coming in here as well. Roger, appreciate you jumping in here. Coming in saying hard pill to swallow, but like any antibiotics, you got to finish them to feel better. I still think we make the playoffs. Kenny's jumping back in here. Has a quick hitter question, one that me and Trevor already talked about, but he's wondering if we had a change of heart. Also wants to get Albert's opinion just in general. He says, you all said no to Zach Ertz on Friday, but any change of mind for me and Trevor? And Dutchie, would you sign Zach Ertz? He would be a nice red zone target over what you have right now. So I'm going to go with Albert. I think it'll be a quick answer just from what I see from Trevor. But Albert, what are your thoughts on Zach Ertz?
Yes, I would. If we could get him for the cheap, get him. Right now, we have Manhurts, who is not doing anything, and Troutman is a little bit of a threat. So, yeah, it would change up the pace a little bit. Why not? Change the scheme a little bit and get him in there. And just by his name, just by his reputation, he is a threat. And the defending opponents will play onto it. You might just use him as an decoy.
Yep.
Yeah, and that will leave the pressure on others. Yes, absolutely.
Very good. So there you go. I got your answer from the Dutchie, buddy. Trevor, any change of heart there, bud?
No, I don't think Zach Ertz really changes the cusp of this game. I think Ertz, I think his better days are behind him. Not trying to say he can be an impact player, but I just think for what the Broncos need right now, I think I would just ride with Troutman and then just try to get Dulcich back and roll with that, because I think Ertz, we mentioned a lot of different points on Friday of why he may not be a guy that you bring into this team. New guy, is he a guy that causes problems in the locker room? Do you really need that on a team to try to make the playoffs right now? Does he think the Broncos are a Super Bowl contender? Because Zach Ertz probably maybe he has a year left to play in him. So he probably want to go to a team that he knows for sure is going to be a Super Bowl team. I just think he ends up with the Eagles. I don't think he comes to the Broncos. But, I mean, I don't think he really changes a lot where he's at in his career. And so I think that we're just probably going to be – we're going to have to kind of just deal with what we deal with and scheme it that way.
Kenny's coming in saying, good point, Dutchie. I'm going to just go this way. Frank Clark, Randy Gregory. It doesn't seem like that's the route that this team wants to go, is trying to bring in that veteran, especially if he has any type of questionability, but just bringing in that veteran and trying to plug and play, unless he has an absolute 100% tie to Sean Payton in the past. Then he might have a chance. But otherwise, it just doesn't seem like it's been working out. David's coming in here and just saying, between the game plan, the field, and the interceptions, we didn't have a chance. So, yeah, that might be a great, 3-point wrap up. I'll be honest. Kenny jumping in here and saying today was only a hiccup. Yes, you're going to hold your breath each week, but it does cure the hiccups. I truly believe your Broncos will bounce back. I love it. Kenny's jumping in here with cures for hiccups, wrapped right into our way of rebounding into the next week. So I don't know if I said it, but I was thinking about it as Trevor was kind of wrapping up on one of his thoughts a little bit earlier. I may owe $1 into the San Diego Charger jar because I think I said that rather than Los Angeles Chargers. I promise one day I'll get that right. But that being said, guys, that is our next opponent. And we do need to have this bounce back, man. I'm not going to go ahead and I'm not going to lay too much on this team. I've been letting you guys take the mic on this a little bit. I do got to say, I think, like I said, I think Russell Wilson has had his better days. I think Sean Payton has maybe had his better days in game planning out there as an offense and making sure that we're, again, if you're having multiple issues and making sure the guys are going completely unblocked, that's an adjustment on the coach. That's an adjustment on the quarterback. I just don't think they were on their game 100%. That being said, guys, close game. Came down to the wire. You're in a playoff type of atmosphere, in a playoff type of team. Yeah, conditions are going to come in. I don't care if it's refs. I don't care if it's the turf. It came down to the wire, and you had an opportunity. It was this close. And being this close in a mid-season playoff type of game against a team that you may match up against in the playoffs in the future, you played your butts off, guys. I know it was a tough loss. You are almost there. Couple of things, ironed out, wrinkled out, get the iron out, get those wrinkles out, and, move on to the next. But the next one is going to be now that much more needed to get a win if we're going to continue on this playoff run. Guys, let's go ahead. I know that these are usually a little bit shorter because we don't get to pre-plan. We're just kind of roundtabling the wins and the losses. I'm going to go ahead and hit the comments one last time. And Justin is jumping in here on Facebook, says, everyone focuses on the quarterback play, but how about that Texas D-line? They seem to put the pressure on Russ, 3 sacks, and that tip passed into an interception. Great point, Justin. I'd add in what Trevor mentioned just a little bit earlier. It wasn't all about the sacks, the amount of pressures, and we'll tally those up and probably have that in maybe in the next game as well, or the next podcast as well. But they were absolutely after Russ, as you pointed out, all game. Go ahead. Let's indulge Justin here a little bit because new name. Love to have the comments and love to have the questions. What did you think about the performance of this Houston, Texas defensive line? Albert, I'm going to start with you. This offensive line of the Denver Broncos, well, I'll bring this up as well. Got a little nervous because have been the starting 5 that has been held together. Quinn Miners stepped out for a play or two. I about gasped. I about fell to my knees when that happened. Luckily, he did end up re-entering the game, was able to finish it out. But that being said, this offensive line has been playing pretty good. Showed up really big against the Cleveland Browns. Seemed to be a letdown against this Houston Texans team. How do you go from the Cleveland Browns to the Houston Texans and take a step backwards like this?
Like I said, I don't think they took a step backwards. The Texas defensive line, they were just excellent, and especially from the edge rushes, yeah, they were excellent. And yeah, if you leave gaps open because you have a missed call or something like that. But here's one thing, Justin. I met Justin Friday at a big Starbucks, and I told him about our podcast, and he says, "Oh, where can I find it?" Well, friend me up, and guess what? He is here now.
Well, you know what that means? I'm going to break out a Kurt Valente thing right now, guys. You know what that means. Time to clap it up for Justin. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate you jumping in here, being part of the show, buddy. All right, man. I had to do that. Go ahead, buddy.
And so he works at the big box store, and we got in Kansas City. So he is a Broncos fan in Cheese Country. So big yay! But yeah, the Texas D-line, they just had our gameplay in mind, and they worked it really well.
Yeah, I agree, man. Man, stick it to his guns, man. He's just like, hey, great team, played well, had a good game plan, outplayed us. What's a guy to do? Trevor and Joel indulged Justin a little bit. Again, This Texas D-line, was it all about this Texas D-line? Did the Broncos take a step backwards? How did we end up getting pressured all day long like we did?
Yeah, I think it was definitely Houston's defensive line. I think some teams probably underappreciate the Texans' defensive line a little bit, and just because I think the numbers aren't there, and maybe that's what the Broncos did in this game. That might be one reason why you seen the offense just not come out looking very good is because they did kind of appreciate. I would say not appreciate, but
Underestimate.
Underestimate. Texans' defensive line, but I think that also, Derek Singletary, he was very good in this game too. So you could even shape it up to the backfield a little bit for Houston. They really shut down Cortland Sutton in this game. But also, I mean, you could ship it up to the Houston's defensive line as well because they got pressure on Russ right away. The Russ just a lot of times he got rid of the ball, which is great. But there's also times they got to him. So if Russ would have now been able to move her, and kind of get rid of the ball, I think you'd have seen that the sack totals definitely be up there because he was pressured all game long.
Yeah.
So
running for his life at times, trying to find scrambling lanes, doing a little scramble drill of his own back there, trying to find outlet guys. He was doing just about anything. This defensive line got at him. Kenny brings in a good point. Say, I agree, Justin. Plus, everyone wanted more deep shots, and we got them today. It didn't work out in the end, but there were positives in this game. And Pearl's coming in and saying, I totally agree with you, Kenny. So, man, we're getting a trifecta there, I think, with an agreement. Kenny's coming in saying Will Anderson must have played with extra adrenaline today after finding out his Alabama Crimson Tide got into the college playoffs today. Maybe just so. It's amazing, especially when you're a rookie. That stuff really still motivates you. You're only 1 year removed from that. So, yeah, it was a tough. They're a tough defense. They got after us. Again, I think we could have been a little bit better just all the way around. Sean Payton and Russell Wilson and audibling and being prepared at the line of scrimmage to get into the right play. So that being said, it's tough. You're going to run into tough defenses. You can't continue. It wasn't going to be a 10-0 streak, as I said. Pearl's coming in and saying one good thing, the Broncos showed heart. We will be back next week. And she doesn't like her autocorrect, by the way, as well. So sorry about the misspelling that I have up on the screen there for you. Justin's coming in one more time and saying, thanks, guys. Watching on my break. Look forward to seeing more. Well, perfect segue, guys. I'll do a little bit of a plug. This is the Denver Bronco Roundup postgame show. We try to go postgame after every single game. Been doing it kind of religiously ever since Trevor joined the show. It gave us a little bit, one extra guy that we knew that we'd be able to have here. We're lucky enough to have Albert here as well. So thank you, Albert, so much for joining the show as well. You can also catch Albert on the original Denver Bronco Roundup podcast, along with Trevor and our good friend Jody Moncrief, Tuesdays, every single Tuesday, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, guys. And not to be left out, we do a pregame show. It's me and Trevor. It's on Friday night. Check it out. We usually do like a 6:45-ish Friday nights, if I remember correctly. We've been doing them somewhat regularly, but the nice thing is, guys, if you like, follow, share, and subscribe, guys, you'll always be notified. You'll always get our ads that come out before, and you'll always get those notifications when we go live. So thank you guys so much for jumping in here, following, liking, sharing, subscribing, and being part of the conversation. And thanks for the little segue into a plug, Justin. I appreciate it. Also very much appreciated coming in here late in the show, Mr. Michael Ronquillo, right out of Arizona, jumping in our chat over on YouTube. Yeah, that's YouTube. Yeah. Good afternoon, Keith, Albert, and Trevor. Appreciate you jumping in here. He's coming in here and saying this is quarterback Russell Wilson's worst game as a Bronco. Ooh.
I don't know about Bronco.
Yeah, there was
yes.
Might have been. I might not even go worst game of the season. I'd have to go back and look at those 5 losses, man.
Right.
Those were rough. And our offense was different. Our defense was different. We were put in bad positions, that made our offense look worse. This was a tough game, and it was certainly a letdown off of the run that Russell Wilson has had. But I'm not going to come in here, and I'm not willing to anoint him as the worst game as a Bronco, or even the worst game this season as of yet. But boy, yeah, it could have been better. It could have been better. I think he could have done, like I said, more at the line of scrimmage in order to get us in the proper position and in the proper play. And, there was a couple of questionable passes that ended up being interceptions, So, yeah, not the best game, but I don't know if it's the worst game. Anybody want to agree? Let's just say that Michael's saying it's the worst game of the season, because we're not going to even put Coach H into our lexicon here and go back to last year, guys. Is this the worst game of Russell Wilson's season, 2023-2024? Trevor, I'll go to you first, buddy.
I think it's up there. I have to go back to maybe we'll have this more on Tuesday when we're able to kind of look back a little bit at the games earlier this season. But I think it's definitely up there because I just think he was just not reading the field well. He did a couple of balls that were underthrown. That Marvin Mims one really sticks out to me. He throws that ball a little bit ahead. Marvin Mims, I think that's an easy touchdown for the team. We're talking about a completely different game. That's just another thing that did not go the Broncos' way. Russell Wilson, that was just a ball that you have to throw on point there, and he just underthrew. It should have been PI, but again, Russ throws that ball. It's an early touchdown anyway, so it doesn't even matter what the refs think. So, but I would say also, though, I want to point this out. It's also the offensive line, I think, that just comes into play in this. I think when Russ has those struggles, and has a rough game, I think it's a large part because the offensive line. I think a large part because he's getting pressured. He can't see the field very well. I mean, when he's getting pressured and has guys in his face, he's always having to scramble outside the pocket. He took a couple shots there, so I'm sure he's a little bit banged up after this one. But no, I think that I don't think this loss is entirely on Russ, but I do think that this is he did struggle today, I think, and that's one of his probably struggled games throughout the season for sure. But I don't know if it's worst game of the season again because I got to go back to watch the film and the rest of the games earlier on in the season and look at the stats and everything. So Tuesday, maybe we'll have a little bit more of an accurate answer for that one.
Yeah, I'll be in agreement in here. Pearl's just coming in here and saying great show, and I think that's a love for Trevor. So congratulations, Trevor. So good big love for you, Albert. I think I already know your answer on this, but is this Russell Wilson's worst game of this season?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. One of the first two games was worse than this one, and like I said, I do not put a bunch of blame on Russell this time. If you get pressured 80 times of the dropbacks, and you only have 1 or 2 seconds to make a play, I don't think so. It is all on the. I give all how do you call it credit to the Texans D line.
Very good, buddy. Michael Ronquillo does put up a big point, though. Just turnovers in general. 3 interceptions will not win NFL games. It's tough to go against the turnover battle and come out as a win. So I have to agree with you there. 3 interceptions just too much. And like I said, I think at least a couple of them were probably on. A Russell Wilson would like to see a little bit better judgment. Graham's coming in here. Thank you, Graham, for joining in on YouTube, saying what a disappointing loss. And I think this sums it up perfect because this is the emotional roller coaster I was on. Said it was over early. Then it wasn't. Then it was. So, yeah, 100%. Pearl coming in here saying love for you all. So appreciate you, Pearl. I wasn't begging for love. I wasn't begging for love for Albert as well. You can love Trevor all you want. We appreciate the love that you come in here and show us every single podcast. Ben, seems like we're, without fail, we have a Pearl in the posse, which is our chat group. Kenny's coming in and saying, I think he played below average, but he didn't extend a lot of plays today. I agree with Albert. Not the worst game today, and I would agree with that as well. He was extend the play with his legs is what he's coming in and just elaborating on. And Graham coming in and saying, Will Anderson was a problem. And, hey, if you're going to be picked at the top of the draft board, you should be a problem, not only for the Denver Broncos, but for a lot of teams, and he's kind of shown to be so. So, guys, let's get into some final thoughts, I guess. We'll go ahead and start wrapping up the show. Unless the comments have any questions or thoughts before we get out of here, we'll start it up. Trevor, I'm going to start with you, man. Final thoughts on this loss, on our season, on where we go from here, and maybe get the chin of the Denver Bronco Roundup fans up just a little bit if you can.
Yeah, so just again, I just want to thank everybody for being in the chat with us. We really enjoy you guys make this possible. We do it for you guys, and we continue to grow each and every show. And you guys are a big part of that. And so just want to thank everybody here, and thank Albert for joining us, and thank you for Keith for having me once again. We'll be back Tuesday stronger, better than ever. Regardless of loss or win, it don't matter. We're going to be back stronger, better than ever. So no, I think take away from this game is just it's a hard game. And NFL's not easy. It's not easy. If it was easy, then I think a lot more teams would be able to figure it out. But I think here's the thing: we're 6-6 going into LA. The Chargers are a team that's struggling. They are struggling right now. They just beat the Patriots 6-0 today. That Patriots are down worse than they ever have been. So if anything, we're gonna pick the chin up on this one. Let's go against Chargers. We've beaten teams on the road that are tough. Buffalo was that one. And so let's go into LA, take care of business, get back to playing Denver Bronco football, because today I just don't think we had it. And I don't think we played Denver Bronco football up to our standards. Let's go into LA, prepare all week, clean up the mistakes. Russ can't turn the ball over 3 times, and let's just be better. Be better getting LA, and it should be definitely a fun one. It's not going to be an easy one because it's on the road again. And just come back better than ever. We're just fine. We're still in the playoff. We're still in the mix. And that's all you can ask for at this point in time in the season. So, go Broncos.
I do want to get your one last thought. Graham came in here last minute, and I just want you to prognosticate. We're at the end of the season. Do you look back at this and say this was a must-win that we lost versus the Houston Texans?
I don't think I think it's something that if you get a win, it definitely helps. But I don't think. Because you have a pretty decent schedule going up. Like, it's not that hard of a schedule. So if you take care of business in LA, other than Detroit, the rest of those games are pretty winnable in my opinion. So I think you still can there's still a realistic shot at making the playoffs. This game was that playoff game that you wanted, and if you win that game, it's a huge boost for your team, because then you don't have to win, or maybe like the last game of the season. Maybe if you're in the playoffs, you don't have to play. You can rest a couple guys, but now I think you're going to obviously have to play the rest of the season with the starters and kind of roll it that way. But I still think there still is a clear path to the playoffs. The Broncos take care of business, and you're going to have some teams probably lose out a little bit and lose their seating in the playoffs a little bit. But I still do think that the window is definitely open for the 2023 Denver Broncos to make the playoffs this year.
Awesome, man. Appreciate that. I'm going to hit that first from Albert. Albert, I want to get your answer on this. Was this a must-win? You're going to go ahead and you're being projected to the end of the season. We finished our 17th game. Do we look back and say this was a must-win that we didn't get?
This was an important game. A must-win? No. If you win in the next 5 games, you're in the playoffs. And it should be doable. And if you look at the Chargers won against the Patriots, 6-0.
Mm-hmm.
So those are 3 winnable games, and so we can end up at least with a winning record if we just win those 3 games, and if we pick one more, you're 10-7. So that means the playoffs, and you have 5 games.
Oh, sorry, man. I almost cut you off there. I didn't mean to. So I just wanted to answer real quick to Graham, because I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna go against my co-host here, and I'm gonna agree with Graham. I'm gonna say this was a must-win at the end of the season. I'm just gonna project forward, and again, I think this was a key matchup. I think there's going to be a team that's going to be in that playoff race. I think if you could have gotten this win, it would have made a huge difference. We'll see if the Broncos have it all the way down the stretch, but yeah, we're going to have to start stacking again, guys. We're going to have to start stacking wins if we want to get into the playoffs. Not much room to slip here. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping that my co-hosts are right. I hope the Broncos didn't necessarily need this in order to get in, but I'll go ahead and I'll agree with Graham. It was such a key big game. We're matchups going head to head against playoff contenders. I'm going to go ahead and I'll agree. Pearl's just letting us know that she'll be working Friday night, though, and that we'll miss part of the game next Saturday. So, geez.
The game's Sunday, isn't it? The Chargers game?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
The Chargers game is Sunday. So, Yeah, let's not give any more misinformation. I think I did that last time. There is a game that was a Saturday game that we will have
Detroit.
coming up. Detroit. Thank you.
The 18th.
There you go, for the 18th. So a couple weeks from now. So
Yeah.
Hey, Pearl, you'll be right back in it. No worries. Maybe you can catch that Sunday game and plan for that Saturday game.
Yeah.
Got to give some love to Michael as well. Saying great show, Keith, Albert, and Trevor, throwing out the orange and blue hearts. And then I got to get back over to Albert for his final thoughts. Albert, some final thoughts, buddy. Chin up for the Denver Broncos as we round up our Denver Bronco Roundup podcast.
Okay, yeah, this it is an sad loss, but yeah, the Houston's outplayed us, and kudos to them. You have to give it to them. And I want to thank all the people who commented in the show. Kenny, Sis was watching, David, Pearl, Matthew, Roger, and Justin, our newcomer, coming in as well. Michael and Graham, thank you all for being there and commenting, because that makes our lives so much easier and more interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Well, short wrap up from Albert, man. He's a man of few words, man. I'm gonna have to get him to elaborate. I know one way. Watch out for that Tuesday show. It'll probably be a little return for Nopper's knowledge. We'll get a little bit more screen time for Albert. If you guys aren't aware, Albert jumps in here every single. Well, we try to get him every single Tuesday. I've been terrible lately at getting him in his spot, but been better as of lately. He'll put your quiz, your Denver Broncos roster knowledge to the test. He'll test your IQ. Tune in for Nopper's knowledge. We'll get him a little bit more screen time, a little more few words flowing out of that mouth on Tuesday. Guys, thank you so much for joining us, man. We've been trying to get you more and more shows. We appreciate you being part of the Denver Bronco Roundup, being part of the posse. If you'll hang with me for just a second as my lights start to dim. I don't know if you caught that, but I sure did. I want to hit a few things, guys. We are brought to you by the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Rocky Mountain Sports Network is your hub, your place for all your Colorado sports. So whether it be your Denver Broncos, your Nuggets, your Avalanche, or even your Rockies, check out the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. You can check them out by heading over to RockyMountainSN.com. You can search them out on Facebook, YouTube, and X, by just searching out Rocky Mountain or Rocky Mountain SN. Either way, you'll go right to that page, and please like, follow, share, and subscribe. Really helps us out. We love the conversation. We've been getting more and more faces, more and more names in here. We've been growing, and it's because of, all of you out there sharing, and maybe Albert, stopping talking to a guy at over a Starbucks. That being said, got to get over to our fantastic sponsor, guys, Willow Seasonings and Blends, man. Willow Seasonings and Blends is a spices, rub, and sauce company, guys. I'm telling you guys, if you have a pit boss in your family, one of those guys that loves to stand around the barbecue, one of those guys that are always out there flipping the steaks, man, they are going to love Willow Seasonings. It is the most fantastic. It was born out of, most fantastic spices and sauce company, I should say. It was born out of the fact that, man, how many times have you picked up a spice off the shelf, went home, threw it on, all it tastes like is salt, no flavor at all? I'm guaranteeing you guys the flavor will punch right through, comes right through in their tagline, guys. Willow Seasonings, spice up your life. Absolutely. It has wonderful flavorings. Will certainly spice it up. They are a sponsor, so head on over to willowseasonings.com, guys. Get something for somebody special underneath the tree. Do yourself a favor. Save yourself a little bit of money. DBR 2023 is the promo code. That's DBR 2023. Saves you 15% off. He has some fantastic little packages he has going on over there as well, guys. All for the holidays. Check them out. willowseasonings.com. Go there today, guys. Spice up your life. By the way, every time you use that promo code, you're helping out a family in need over at Rocky Mountain Sports Network. David Slade is generously donating $1 every time you use the code. So help yourself out by getting something underneath the tree, checking off that list, right? And then, of course, help out that family in need. We appreciate it. Helps out us as well. So, guys, my final thought, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my outro, and I'm going to check the comments just really quick. Oh, hey, there you go. Michael Ronquillo coming in with some final thoughts saying, Say my final thought is Broncos country. This is the way. Always appreciate that, Michael, and always appreciate you being in here, being part of the conversation, and being a big supporter. Kenny's coming in here saying, great job. See you Tuesday evening. Keep the heads up, Broncos fans. Only a hiccup that quickly is gone away. And Michael, just one more coming in here saying, Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama made the college football playoff finals for any of you that followed that. My outro is going to be this, and it's going to be one and the same, guys. I always give you the same outro every single time, but that's also going to be my kind of my wrap-up, guys, because, well, it's fitting. Again, if you guys haven't heard the explanation of my outro, for one, do you want to help me out, Trevor?
Keep your feet in your stirrups.
Keep your feet in your stirrups. And what does that mean? Keep your feet in your stirrups. It just means, man, you got to make sure that you're on that horse and you're ready to go. Broncos country, Broncos players, be on that horse, be ready to go. Next, you got to
keep guns in your holsters.
Keep your guns in your holsters. That's right. Got to stay level-headed. Can't be out there with your 6 shooters just out there flying around, guys. You know, got to keep your mind straight, man. And after a loss like this, you got to keep the mind straight. And finally, you guys all know
in your heart.
Keep the Broncos in your heart, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining us, being a part of the show. Appreciate you guys so much. Remember, next time we're going to be on Tuesday, 7 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. Until then, guys, we're going to get out of here. I'll give you a mile high salute. Good night, everyone.